How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Virtual History 360. I'm Mr. Wade, and today is Wednesday, August 19th. The time is a little after 8:30 in the morning. Don't worry, the clock is actually counterclockwise. Don't let it trick you. You're not being confused with a mirrored image. Anyway, today is Wednesday, August 19th. I have a little bit of time before my contract time starts at 9 o'clock, so I figured I would take this moment to talk to you about what we've been planning. I said we've been planning a lot. I introduced in vlog number 1 that we were talking about, grading and scales and all that good stuff, but I haven't really talked much about it. So I figured I would use vlog number 4, that's today, to tell you more about it. So, what do you say we get started? Alright, so for starters, this change that I'm working on this year, all came about when I read a couple books this summer. Well, 3 books really. Teaching Like a Pirate, Hacking Assessment, and Going Gradeless. Now, the theory really struck a chord with me because the idea of going gradeless is that kids will focus on the learning rather than focusing just on that number in the grade book. And I really like that because as an educator, I'm very frustrated when a kid goes, what can I do to raise my grade, rather than what can I do to learn more. So I figured this shift is something that I can do to kind of push towards that. Might not be able to go gradeless, but at least take the step in the right direction to get kids more focused on their learning. So where does this come from? The idea of standards-based grading. Grading for mastery rather than grading just for the content itself on a test, multiple choice, whatever. So you have to do things a little differently. So let's start with that. For starters, it takes more work on the front end. I'm going to just throw that out there right at the beginning. It does take more work on the front end, but I do believe that it's going to make my life easier on the back end. So, it's more of a 60-40 instead of 50-50, but it's okay because I have had a little bit of experience with this. At my old school, we tried standards-based grading a few years ago, and it didn't take off. And I think one of the reasons why it didn't take off is because of the fact that we were trying to marry it with the grade book. And we had conversions, this on the scale means this in focus, what we use for grading. And that didn't strike a chord with me. I couldn't make that work. I couldn't wrap my head around that. So after reading those books this summer, I put some time and some work and some thought and some effort into making it work and wrapping my head around how to make standards-based grading that step to make the kids want to focus on learning rather than grades. Let me show you what I've been working on. So, like I said, I put in some time for scales. Now, if you take a look at this, this is what I have put together. Now, I know you can't read it on the screen, so I'm going to pause here and I'm going to put this on the screen for a few seconds. Feel free to pause the video and then come back. Now, as you can see, it's a progression. It goes from entry level 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, one thing that I do a little differently than what my county does, and maybe going rogue a little by saying this, is that for social studies, it's not skill based. Again, historical inquiry, asking questions, stuff like that, it's reusable skills. But our area is so content focused. U.S. history, covering exploration all the way up to Reconstruction, or world history, covering all the different civilizations, leading up to where we are now. I can teach you about Egypt, but that doesn't mean you need to know everything about Mesopotamia. I can teach you about Rome, but that doesn't mean you need to know everything about China. It doesn't necessarily build. They're pretty, separate. So when I write a scale like this, and it's about telling that narrative. It's about building from what do you need to learn first and all the way up. I do agree with the county that level 3 should be the standard or the goal, what you're building to. Level 4 is that above and beyond. The kids that really want to show you that they want to work harder, that is an option for them. Not necessary, it's optional. If you want an A in my class, I'll get to grading in a second. If you want an A in my class, you'll work for that 4. If you don't, I'm not going to twist your arm. Obviously I'm speaking figuratively. I'm not going to twist your arm to do it because I want the kids that want that good grade, that want to show mastery above and beyond and take the content to a modern level or something new to show that. But if you just do a 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to be happy with that because the way I build the scales is I want it to be something that I can use to help me plan a unit. What am I going to teach first, second, third? And as I build in complexity and rigor, I level it just the same. So you see I have the scale just like that. Now, what I think is really cool, and my county has been supportive, my principal has been supportive of this, so I think it's going to work. But this is something that I've done for a while now, but it's never really been used properly. So I think this year, if you have good scales, and again, hold this up, this is a 6th grade geography scale. If you have good scales, you can then take it to the next step. What is it? Let's talk about that. So now you have the scale, what do you have to do? Well, you need to have assessments. Now, when I say assessment, the first thing you're thinking is multiple choice test. It doesn't have to be. And I think that's the hardest change to wrap your minds around, is that it doesn't have to be a multiple choice test. There are other ways to do that. And what you want to do is you want to check the kids as you progress through the scale. So if you give yourself, say, 2 weeks for a unit, you don't just want to, teach, test. You want to have little checks along the way. Now, you can do that with multiple choice. That's fine. If that's what you're comfortable with, run with it. That's good. But what I'm going to try, and this is just my experience though, that's why you're coming to my vlog from me. I hope it helps you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have assessments along the way. Now take a look at this. And again, you can't see it on the screen because it's small, so I'm going to pause here, take a look at the bigger picture. Alright. Levels 1, 2, 3, 4. Assignments for each level for a kid to be able to show mastery of what I am focusing on each level. Now, something that I'm doing, because I want my kids to buy in, is giving them options. You see there's option 1, option 2. I try to make one more analytical, one more creative. It doesn't always work that way in the units that I've planned so far, but give the kids choice, okay? Every kid might choose option 1. That's fine, but if you want to do option 2, that is up to the kid, and the student can have ownership in what they're going to be assessed on. And each level, I give them time in class. I don't want to do homework because that's a whole other issue. I don't believe in giving a ton of homework. You give them class time, get it done, next day or whenever it's due, however long it takes, I check it. If you show me, for example, level 1, write a 1-sentence summary of each of the 5 themes of geography, option 1 for level 1. We cover 5 themes in class. We do a presentation. Maybe, I don't know how I'm going to teach just yet, but we cover the 5 themes of geography. And guess what? Write a sentence summary of each. 5 sentences. Not going to take the kids very long. Just look at your notes or whatever the activity that we did and write a summary. Not going to take you very long. I come through, I check. If you have 5 sentences, 1 for each of the 5 themes, boom, I'm going to initial your scale. If you remember, there's a spot over here for teacher initials. And then as we go through, all you have to do is keep up with the work. Now, at the end of the unit, this is where it gets tricky. I have set aside 3 days at the end of each unit so that I can have a one-on-one conversation with my students. Call them up, show me your portfolio, show me your notebook, okay? What do you think that you have learned in this unit? What level do you think you feel you have reached as far as mastery of this content goes? Kid says, well, I'm easily a 4. Okay, show me the work. Well, I only have level 3 work. Okay, so are we in agreement, level 3? I imagine that's how the conversations are going to go. Or kid goes, I did level 3, but I feel better about level 2. I have no problem saying, you know what, let me see your level 3. I'm happy with it. You think you got a 2, I give you a 3, and we're happy. Okay? But the student will leave that conversation knowing what they've got. There's no confusion. Now, for you, you might not be able to plug in those 3 days. Okay, I'm really pushing for it. You might not be able to. The system will still work. You still have the scale to follow. You can still initial and check as you go, and you just got to keep records of it. Keep it in the gradebook. Now, we'll get to that in just a second. I'm working towards grades. I know that's what you're waiting for because that's the big one. Just keep record, and at the end of the unit, put in the grade. Now, let's talk about grades. All right, now I know grades are the big topic, and that's what you're here to talk about. The last thing I'm going to bring up are how do you grade the students? Very simple. My grade book has a way to do away with numbers. I'm focusing just on letters. A, B, C, D. You do level 1 on the scale, and that's all you do come the end of the 2-3 weeks, however long the unit is, and we have that conversation, and you can only show me level 1 work. Guess what grade I'm putting in the grade book? A D. It's pretty straightforward. If you only do level 2, a C. If you only do level 3, I'm going to give you a B. You've shown mastery of all 3 levels. That's a B in my book. Okay? A's are reserved for the kids that go above and beyond, the ones that make the connection to whatever I ask for level 4. Typically, it's connecting what we've learned in history, because it's an older material, to modern day, because history is all around us. If you've seen any other videos on my channel, I've talked about that. So I want the kids to connect what we've learned to today, but that's not necessarily the standard. So really, it's not punitive if they don't do it. But those kids that want to make that connection and want to go a little bit further, they have the opportunity. And then the gradebook itself is set up. I'm doing 2 categories. And hold on, sit down. If you're standing, sit down for this one. One category is weighted 1%. Can you guess the other? The other category is 99%. Now let me explain why. Okay? The 1% category is formative checks. Class assignments, the level assignments, whatever we're doing, just keeping check on you. That's my way of keeping record keeping. That's all. That's why it's just 1%. It's not going to weigh you down. It's not punitive. If you don't do well on an assignment, I do a quick quiz on something, it's not going to hurt your grade because it's only 1%. The 99% category, that is the summative category. What goes in there? That is the end grade, the holistic grade. I've been using that word a lot this summer. I'm looking at the whole unit, not one assignment. What can you show me that you've learned? If you've learned level 2, that 99%, you're getting a C. If you show me a level 3, a B, so on, okay? Now, there's multiple units in a quarter, okay? It'll average out. If you get 1 A, 2 B's, it'll probably be a B. But if you have 4 units and you get, an average of 3.5, like a GPA weighting, it'll average up. You don't have to be perfect to get an A in the class, but you do have to put forth the effort. Okay, I'm going to push the kids. Now, one last thing that I need to bring up about the grading is that the kids can change their grade. First thing of the year, kid only does level 2, gets a C. The kid's not happy. The student comes to me and says, Mr. Wade, what can I do to bring my grade? I go, you can go back, because those papers that I showed you, they're in the notebook. They have them. They're not hidden. They're not secret. They can go back. They can do that level 3 assignment. They can do that level 4 assignment. Come back to me. Find a moment of downtime in class. Say, hey, Mr. Wade, come check my notebook. I see it. I initial off on it. I change the grade. I have no problem. Now, unfortunately, legally end of quarter, that's the cutoff. I can't wait the whole year. But if a kid takes the initiative to say, Mr. Wade, I want you to change my grade because I'm not happy with what I have, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that change for them, because it's not designed to be punitive. I want them to learn. So yes, I'm going to say the unit ends on a certain day and the quarter obviously ends. I can't control that, but I'm going to be as flexible as legally allowed, because I want the kids to learn and focus on learning rather than just that grade. Fortunately, the system we're in, the grade is that motivator for a lot of them, but I think this is the step in the next direction. What do you think? I know this was a long one. It's not that typical 4 or 5 minute range, but there was a lot to cover. Drop a comment. Tell me what you think. What are you going to try this year? What roadblocks do you see? Because, I will try and answer your questions in these videos. Hit that like button, share it with other teachers that you know. Share it with other people that you know. Put it out on Facebook for me. Let's get YouTube to promote it. And obviously, if you're watching, I hope you're subscribed, but if you're not already, go and hit that little button, hit that bell so you get notifications when I push this out. And for Virtual History 360, I'll see you next time.